professor, I will test you in the worst way. Don't bring a Scantron, pop quizzes all day. Cause of our chemistry, we do biology.
What's happening, fam? L.A.R. movement still moving. Subscriber die trying. You see the thumbnail, man. How the dope boys got the kids. So I was looking at Club Shay Shay, Shannon Sharp, and he had Mendices on, and he was talking about how he came up in street life and all that or whatever before he went legit. And if y'all don't know him, he's like on like Love and Hip Hop New York, like Yandy's husband, right? The one that went to jail or whatever. And Shannon Sharp asked him, did he want to be anything growing up? And he said he really never got the opportunity because when he was young, basically, one of the drug dealers had him running drugs for him at around 7 years old. Now, this is probably the 80s. You get what I'm saying? So it's not as extreme as it once was. If you ever saw the movie Harlem Nights, and you remember the character Sugar Ray, Richard Pryor's character, and Quick, which is Eddie Murphy's character, when they had the scene when he was a young kid running errands for him while he was running his little gambling operation. Well, there was a time where those guys did that a lot. And the thumbnail I'm using is the thumbnail from Kings of New York. It's Larry Fishburne. Lawrence Fishburne. And don't say Larry. Lawrence Fishburne. And, years and years ago. And he played a drug dealer. He walks into a spot. He orders some food. Talks to the people kind of. He makes sure my stuff's hot. Because they got on some kids for not having the money. So he gave the grandmother some money and gave the kids change to play the video games and eat, right? And the grandmother took the money. She knew what he was, but she was kind of happy, like, somebody's doing something for the people in the community kind of situation. He got arrested in that scene, if I'm not mistaken. But that element of, giving people money, passing out free turkeys like Nino Brown, baby. Some kids wanted to emulate that and be that. And but the flip side of that, that's more important, is some of these guys groom these kids purposely. Because, when I was younger and I had a lot of friends who was in gangs and the drug economy. And I learned at an early age that a lot of those guys, that are in the gangs, that are running and dealing and this, that, and the third, putting in work, however you see it. A lot of the guys that they take orders from are older than them, and what they do is they will use the kids because the kids will get less time for getting caught. You get what I'm saying? No, nobody will see a kid coming doing certain things, and if they get caught, they go to juvie. You get what I'm saying? They wasn't getting tried as adults. Now, like in my teenage years, depending on the crime, they were trying kids as adults. So, I remember a guy who was a sophomore. I want to say he was a sophomore in high school, so he's a year above me. He got like 47 years, but he, If I'm not mistaken, it's 47. This is a long, long time ago. But people don't realize these kids get groomed. Like, guys put them, somebody gonna put them on. They're not really putting you on for you. They're putting you on for them. You get what I'm saying? So when people will go to war or whatever, get at it, they had the kids out there battling it out. The grown men wasn't really doing much. And thus the resentment later on is because you putting in work for people that you come to find out really ain't built like that. It's just about the business. Some of the guys is just business. Other guys, you got to realize the real leader got killed or doing time, and sometimes the snakes took over or the rats took over, and you didn't know they were snakes or rats because you was young, when you came into it. So a lot of times, you had people who got groomed by guys who didn't have really any moral compass. So and you reel them in, whether it's money, food, clothes. You get what I'm saying? Quote unquote protection. That's how the kids were. People. These guys were respected. People weren't thinking straight. You guys were respected, and then 2 years later, you had a funeral. People weren't really thinking. Or they got locked up for 25 years. People weren't really thinking straight, but they were grooming the kids that way because taking advantage of the poverty. Or he had all the girls. He had the girls in the cars, but you weren't really thinking straight because, you know, it wasn't cool when a girl was your mother or your sister or your aunt or something like that. So sometimes these kids wanted to be what the kids wanted to be was not poor. And these guys were a sign of being, financially independent and stable. And they used that to their advantage. The time where kids would be smart or they'd be athletes and those street guys and say, listen, go to school. Don't involve yourself in this. Matter of fact, you play sports, I'm gonna get you some sneakers, go to practice. That kid coming by, who is this? Hey, leave that kid alone, that's a good kid. He ain't in that, she ain't in that, move on. That time kind of it dwindled down because like I said, those kind of guys were, you know, they were falling off left and right. So you got people grooming these kids to be this stuff who didn't care. And then on top of that, um, and I gotta say this, people weren't people didn't understand that the same people that wanted kids to do crime for them are the same people who have kids and they don't want their kids to ever get caught up in their life. So there are certain people who are really horrible people because they don't mind using your child as a crash dummy. Because that was a thing back in the day. People were crash dummies. You know, and behind closed doors, the guys that you looked up to laughed at you for you know getting jammed up. Y'all didn't think because unfortunately you can use the same tactics: the money, the food, the clothes, the all got respect to reel in another young dummy to crash out again. Like they never caught on. And on top of that, let me say this: some of y'all didn't like some of you when people were young. Some people didn't like their parents being quote unquote 9 to 5 people or square people, and they didn't respect their parents, and they looked up to these cats because they had a lot of free time on their hands doing all this street activity. And then come to find out, those same people you looked up to when you caught a charge, they were nowhere to be found. You didn't get that was your family, having to put money up for the lawyer, and sometimes put the house up or to save your behind. It wasn't the people you looked up to. So by the time people caught on, it was too late. And when they caught on, really, they were so deep in now that you couldn't get out. Or it was difficult for them to get out. Or they felt like they couldn't get out because they might have caught a felony, a couple charges, and they're unhireable. They can't go to college, this, that, and the third. So I'm going to leave it at that. Tell me what you think. Like, share, subscribe, or die trying. Peace.
You ever been to the top of the universe? I'm gonna take you there.